Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Authentic Conversations with Adele. And I'm happy to say we're in season 3. Whoever thought we'd get here? Anyways, a little bit about transition clarity and myself. As a soul strategist and intuitive guide, I help people, primarily men right now, but always open to women's, find your true authentic self, to share your gifts of why you're here in the world. As we enter this new year of 2026, the year of the fire horse, what are you showing up to bring to the world? It's more than just a label of being a parent, being a male, being a female, being um, a child, or an engineer or a nurse. It doesn't matter what your title is. It's who your essence is for this world. Are you a leader? Are you a wizard? Are you a teacher? It's all about finding your authentic self and bringing those God-given gifts that you were born with to the surface so you can share in community and take your life from good to fantastic. With that said, today my guest is Maggie. She's a clarity guide and business mentor for sensitive, intuitive women who are tired of performing, pushing, and pretending their way through entrepreneurship. She teaches in a grounded, trauma aware path to success that blends emotional alignment, human design, nervous system wisdom, and the practical simplicity of ethical automation, streamlined sales funnels, and email systems that actually feel good. Her work dismantles the idea that business has to be overwhelming or hustle driven. She helps women build businesses that support their energy, not drain it, by creating clear offers, simplified systems, and vitality that feels safe instead of stressful. Maggie is currently evolving into the next identity, and she supports her women navigating this same transition, shedding survival patterns and stepping into clarity, integrity, and authentic leadership. And in the show notes, we will have her special gift that she has for us, which is Clarity by Design New Year's offer 50% off. So that's a great offer, and that will be in the show notes. And with that, let's welcome Maggie. It is so good to have you here, Maggie. Welcome to the show. And so I want to start off with a little bit of how did you become this holistic business alignment coach? Like, how did that come to fruition? Who is Maggie,
Sure.
basically?
Maggie was actually becoming a Maya because I kind of felt like an identity shift in the last 2 months. But like, let's start from where it started. Whether it will be since I left Poland when I was 19 after car accident, because I think that's a huge part of the story. Going through different type of jobs from waitressing, then studying architecture and so on. And the moment I was graduating, I realized I don't think I want to do this for the rest of my life. So just before even graduation, I started I got the interest in entrepreneurship. I got my hands on Rich Dad Poor Dad book. Not that I'm still a fan of the author, although he's not the author, but a different story for another day. However, it got me started, and I realized that like I do want to travel, I want to work online, I don't want to have a boss, and so on and so forth. So I started doing multiple business workshops. I started, my first business was actually MLM, which was one of the selling supplements,
Mm-hmm.
and then multiple others. And because of my background in architecture, I love properties. I was back then I was living in Wales, and I started learning about property investing. I was attending all sorts of business networking events, business and property investing networking events, where I was meeting developers and investors. And I worked for nearly 4 years. I was running my own business in property services.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I would like wanted to invest in property, unfortunately, it ended on the training and nothing to invest. So I utilized the knowledge by helping investors and developers, doing all sorts of property services, from architectural services to property photography and so on. But I got burnt out. That's when I experienced something that I thought was a heart attack, and it was actually someone explaining, no, you're not having a heart attack, you're having a panic attack. And I was cycling, and I was like actually on the way from the projects that was a nightmare project with cowboy builders, and back then I also like experienced like, oh, so that's an anxiety, because I couldn't breathe. I could not like breathe normally, and like it was just horrendous. And I decided to step back, and I stepped back for like 2 months. It was 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I don't want to go back to it. Let's start from the beginning, because I still had a drive to work for myself. And I started from scratch in affiliate marketing. So for a couple of months, I was reviewing different products, different offers, and I tried it, and I fell in love with marketing. That was the good thing. So that's how the marketing journey started. Apart from the business, and I was gathering different experiences. I realized, because with the first program that what was called high ticket program with marketing, and I've been scammed.
Mm-hmm.
The first company I invested in was the last company that I could invest actually in, because I was on my last bits of credit cards like many other people. I decided like it kind of I made my mission out of it to help other people not to be scammed, because like I'm highly ethical, and I don't like when other people take advantage of vulnerable people who are really desperate to make it work. And like I thought like, okay, I need to make it work. So through that journey and jumping between the programs, in the meantime, still needing a job because I had to go back. And I was working in architecture, also being burned out from that. Unfortunately, I started to have symptoms of depression. So I changed my career to be a kitchen designer for a year. And my bosses in that field, like the first boss was actually a bully. He bullied pretty much all the staff there. So my mental health started to deteriorate. I changed job. My next boss was also kind of like a psychopath in a way, and I was the only employee, so there was literally no one to turn to. And I literally needed to pay the bills, but I reached a point where nothing was making me happy. I started questioning my own worth. I just could not find myself. I didn't even have the motivation to keep going. My back then partner said like, enough is enough. So I prepared myself to go on a sick leave, from which I never came back. That prompted me to also go back to university and do masters in digital marketing. That was 2019, and we know what happened the following year. So middle of my master's degree, pandemic happened and all sorts of other problems, and I was student reps. I was fighting with the university, trying to finish the masters, trying to pay the bills. But at the same time, just before the pandemic, I also started coaching. So I utilized my digital marketing part of the studies, what I gathered, the knowledge so far about business and marketing, and I started coaching and helping people with integration of the digital tools and so on. So especially people who didn't really like that part.
Mm-hmm.
So and I was also providing freelance services. And after I graduated in 2020, the following year I got my first job in marketing agency. And within 6 months, I got convinced, like, okay, no, I'm unemployable. Like, I just can't do it anymore. I'm what some people call psychologically unemployable. But the thing is like after 3 months without any reason, even though I agreed to start from minimum salary, from the bottom position. They renew my probation period. I was like, on what grounds? Because like, because you're taking time, because of objectives. I was like, 3 months I'm chasing for objectives and there was no objective. So like, why do you do it? So I was like, do you know what? No, I'm worth more. This is not for me. So I quit within 3 months after that. Coming back from holidays from Poland, I quit my job the moment I came back. They had to rehire me as a contractor, which was a brilliant move, I think. And the following year, like within 2-3 months, my partner got a job offer in Spain, and here we are. We moved right at the end of pandemic, at the January 2022, and that's when like 2-3 days after the war in Ukraine started. So you can imagine all the kind of craziness with it. However, that's how I kind of progressed. And because of my mental health issues, while I was changing career, while I was kind of starting the business from scratch, um, yes, I did love marketing, but I realized I don't want to work in this make money online niche, because
Mm-hmm.
people just want to press the button and earn money, and we all know that it doesn't work like that. So I decided what did help me with mental health was actually personal development, was actually the tools that were available, the hypnosis, affirmations, meditation. So all the kind of body, mind, and spirit
Yep.
alternative therapies, and working on myself. So I decided, and the more people I spoke to within that field, I realized everyone is kind of afraid of being visible and speaking and being seen on the camera because it is intimidated. Yeah, they were intimidated by other gurus, right? And I was like, no, if someone cannot find you, how many people you are not helping? So that kind of became my mission, together with like marketing, avoiding being scammed, stop outsourcing to people who don't really educate you properly. Like, that was my mission, to help people to get the right support, understand, so they know what they're doing, and when they need external support, how to get actually do it, and also be more visible. So that's how it kind of got into the holistic wellness approach, because of everything together. And I truly believe that the healers, the therapists, the body, mind, and spirit, holistic coaches are the answer to what is happening in the world. Because like, I think if we all start with ourselves, and then they help even one person, we can become better society, communities. Even if it's like just spreading very slowly, it can really make a big difference. So, and what started to actually help me as well, apart from the traditional marketing, also understanding them, human design, which I'm not sure if many people know. It came to me about 3 years ago. Didn't really got me back then, but it got me in September 2023. And since then, I've been like learning like for 10-15 hours. I got completely hooked on human design. And obviously that led to the part of it, which is gene keys, that led me to starting learning astrology, starting learning numerology, this is still in the early stages, but the rest I'm getting pretty good, and also connecting it with AI. So right now, when I'm helping whether coaches or women in transition of their identity, I show them so they can feel confident online.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I never understood, like, what does it mean, like a clarity coach? Like, why do I need clarity? I know what I want. No,
Yeah.
I didn't understand like that. In order to get the clarity, we need to strip off all the society kind of beliefs and imposed sort of goals on us, and knowing exactly who we are. And that's where everything starts. It starts from ourselves. So that's where I am today, like, and that's the journey pretty much.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that because um as I listen to your journey, there isn't one piece of that that you could take out to get you here, right? And
That's right.
that's what I like about the journey, and you're like, but I've done this and I've done that, and it's like, yeah, but it's all in order for you to get to where you need to be. And I love the fact that you've gone down the human design and Gene Key's route, because for me it was a true understanding for me of like, oh, that's why I do what I do. Or that it gave me um, that way of saying you're not doing anything wrong because your trajectory was part of the birth plan. You accepted the birth plan as whatever, like without labeling it like the generator or the manifestor or the whatever, right? The terms of human design. And yet it goes, that's why I love to research and study before I present. Or that's why I kind of stay hermity before I go out into community, right?
What is your profile?
I'm a 2-4 manifesting generator.
2-4. Okay, two. I'm a two. I'm a hermit as well, but on the other side, I'm a 6-2.
Yeah.
2-4. So it's, yeah. So networking. So is the hermit and 4 is the community person and collaboration. Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
Makes
And you
sense.
talk about like when the women you're working with, they don't want to be seen. And we all know as a 6, you're not supposed to be seen until you're ready to come off the roof. And then when
That's
people
true.
say, but that's not until I'm like 60, right? Like it's usually 60 ish that you actually fully come off
50
the roof.
actually, but yeah.
Well,
50, it depends. And it's also to do, I don't know if you ever heard of it, because like when I started, I didn't know about it. And there is a second thing, second different type of chart that you do, which is Chiron return, and there's like
mhm,
Saturn return and whatever. And Chiron return completes your chart. So
mhm.
different things activates. It's like your full capacity, let's call it. And usually that is around either 48, 50, 52. It depends on the person, but it's around 50s. So in a way, like even for the 6, it's actually can start earlier, but it depends. Can be 48, can be 52, 53, 55.
Most of the
So
6 I
yes.
know, including the teachers, they're closer to 60 before they
Wow.
fully
Okay.
came off, right?
Oh, don't scare me now.
No, 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 no. But it's like
No, I'm joking.
so I had a friend who it's quite funny. She was into the science of things and making tools that help you generate your um your electromagnetic system, right? And she, as a joke, went with a friend to a psychic. And they got all this wonderful information for her friend. And then she comes to her and she says, oh, you got to wait 40 years. And she goes, pardon? You really don't hit your stride till, way later in life. She was in her 20s, right? And she goes, what am I supposed to do for 40 years? And she didn't.
Get experience.
She worked, she had a nice life, and it was she didn't get her stride. She wasn't able to come out to the world until her 60s. But she came out in a blast, right? So I think it's interesting. It's not like nothing we're saying here is saying you can't do what you're supposed to do. It's
Yeah,
it's taking each step diligently so when you are shot out of the cannon to say, hello world, I'm here, my light is on, here's all my gifts to share with you, you're not scaring anyone because you've been preparing, right? And even like how you say you're crying or whatever, and it's like nothing's wrong. It's just like your journey. If you didn't leave Poland when you left, and if you didn't go to school when you did, and if you didn't, right, if your partner didn't get the job, you wouldn't be where you are. And you're just like, I'm
absolutely.
connecting the dots. And every dot is just as important as the ones you don't even remember,
That's right. Yeah.
right? And so that's the biggest thing. Like, and even on my own journey, it's like, well, there's some dots you didn't even know that were supposed to be in the equation, right? Because the blueprint takes you all of your lifetimes into one. How was I supposed to know there was a dot in 1300 that's affecting me today? Thank you for sharing. right? Now I go, oh, thank you. I understand. This has been cyclical, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
That's
And it's
right. Yeah.
all
And
bringing us to today.
what I mentioned as well, like in terms of the feeling of the identity shift. So I started being online when the internet actually started. Yeah, I was 15. I remember my father got our first computer. There was the modems and connecting. So he was working during the day. So I was only using it at night. And I remember that obviously as the first chat rooms and so on, you had to pick a nickname. So I picked a nickname based on my favorite singer back then, Natalie Imbruglia. So I was Natalie. And everyone online knew me as Natalie, not as Maggie, or back then it was actually my Polish name, which is Gosia, or from that's coming from Margaret. And sometimes, like, I remember there was something called IRC or Mirz. It depends who is how you look at it. And there were like chat rooms and so on. And I remember someone calling even my home. It's like, is Natalie home? And my father was like, who's Natalie? But long story short, so that was for like about four years, and obviously I had a lot of friends, and I became like this. Natalie was that one that was not shy, because like I used to be shy. I used to be the tomboy girl riding roller skating and so on.
Mhm.
And when I became Natalie, I kind of like came out of the shell in a way, and I was that more brave and outgoing and fun. And that was kind of like, I guess I accepted that as an identity. And then when I moved to UK when I was 19, and no one could pronounce my name, and I didn't want to use really the online name because it was fake, it was only for the online world. So I translated my Polish name to English. So I was like, okay, don't call me Gosia, just call me Maggie. And so I became Maggie for the last 20 years in UK. And the thing is, that time I was constantly fighting, whether fighting with the university because I changed my course twice. I literally I started writing a memoir. So, and I wrote up to 2015. So from the childhood up to then, I was like about 32, 33, I believe, like when I finished writing. And I just come back to it in November, and I was like, and I started obviously in order to fill in the story, like a little bit in the childhood and a little bit now. And I realized and I read the story back then. I was like, this is who I was. Like, I could not even recognize myself. The fighter, the surviving, like the perfect quote from Rocky, right? Like when life beats you down and keep you on your knees, you have to keep getting up, and so on and so forth. I was like, I was that. I was like, life was beating me up and I was keep getting up. And I had that drive and motivation to keep fighting, to keep pushing and hustling. And right now I don't feel the hustle. Like, why do we need, I don't believe we should hustle that much. I know the business has part of it, but I think that, mm, looking backwards, as you said, like in terms of like connecting the dots, how it all becomes like, I am who I am now because of the fights. And those are the stories that I meant to share, which are coming. But generally it's like, it's interesting. And when I felt it, like, I don't feel like this person anymore. It's like, it's a completely different life. It's a completely different person. So I started to work on it with GPT as well, with ChatGPT, and it came up that I came up with a new identity, with new name, because I was struggling, like all these workshops and so on, like, oh, visualize your future self, your 2026 you, and I couldn't. Like, I could not physically, literally see, like in terms of visualization, even either see myself, who am I going to be, how do I see myself, because even definition of success when I started to where I am now has changed. And I think a lot of people start with like being drawn to the blink blink to the fancy villas, fancy cars, and all these kind of fancy travels and
Mhm.
big brands. And I realized I don't need that. I don't want a
I
big
know.
villa where you can get lost. I don't need a sports car that you can barely fit in. I need something that takes me from A to B, and it's kind of, safe to drive, and it's comfortable and so on. So that definition of success has changed so much.
Mhm.
And so has me, who I want to be in the process of it. Because when I work in the property investors world, I also realized, especially in that world, that so many people are becoming successful, but they are ready to basically stab others in the back in order to achieve it. I was like, I will never, I'd rather take forever. I'd rather take or not become successful if that's what it takes, because no, I'm not ready to do that. And I think a lot of people
Well,
don't know it, don't see it, especially at the beginning.
and that world, because I was in that world, um, is very ego driven. I have to be the best. I have to be on top. I have, right? And that's starting to crumble on them too. Like 2008, everyone's like, oh, it's the crash of the century. No, that was to wake people up to get out of their ego. Did it work? For some, right? Um, and yet, it's also like I was looking at the real estate courses more as an alternative for people who will never get accepted by a bank but have to pay rent anyways, right? So instead of paying $1,000 a month, pay 2,000 or pay, like 1,300, and the 300 extra a month is going towards getting your name to get a mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everyone thought I was crazy, and I'm like, but it, it's not crazy. People who work hard, who want a home, who are turned away from all the traditional ways will look after that property because they're looking after it for them to eventually take over the title. And like you're saying, like, do you need that, you know, Lamborghini? No. My little putt putt gets me from A to B to get groceries. I'm good. For me, I'm looking at financial wealth differently as how can I be the philanthropist? My needs are covered abundantly. I want to help those who have a vision to help the world. And it's like a mind shift that I'm just like, this is brilliant. And I think you're there.
It changed us, right? Well, I'm not there yet. I have that mentality, but I'm not there yet. But
I'm not saying I'm
I,
not saying I'm there. I'm saying that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
vision.
Oh, yes,
Right?
yes,
Like
definitely. Like,
before we got on the call, we were talking about vision boards and how we haven't done our vision
yes.
board. I don't want a vision board. The vision is set. My needs are abundantly looked after more than I could ever imagine. The philanthropy is coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I here to help? Because they have inner gifts that they can't bring to the world because they're stuck in the rat race. And I'm like,
That's true.
bring your gifts. The foundation will pay. The
Exactly.
foundation will help you, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I think um, I don't think that's only my goal. I think a lot of people are shifting that way
Mm.
because,
Little by little,
well, I
maybe.
know, but because we're the world is shifting into oneness, into unison, into community. It's not no more. I got to be better than them, and I got to do better, and I have more. It's like no, we all are abundant. It's to wake up to the I am presence of knowing in the abundance,
Mm.
right?
That's
Oh,
right.
I'm
Yeah.
getting chills. Anyways, right? Because like why like and it's interesting because you brought up Rocky because I saw an interview with him the other day where he was talking about going to the Oscars for the movie Rocky. And he invited his mom and she said no because she wanted to bring her friend. You can't decide how many tickets you get to go to the Oscars. He went alone. He ended up winning. And he said, he's a tough guy, but he still got dented. His clay got dented. It didn't matter how many accolades he got, it didn't matter. The damage was already done,
Hmm.
right? And I'm saying, like, I looked at that and think every relationship I get into, am I smoothing out those dents or am I putting more in? Hopefully, I'm smoothing them out. That's my intention. And my,
Of
yeah,
course.
right. Yeah. So, what are you finding is the most helpful learning all the different tools like human design, astrology, numerology? Like, how is that infusing your business as you work with people?
It's more accurate. It provides more clarity because I signed up for a group mentorship last year. So I have a human design mentor. She used to be a marketing director for IBM. So she has a business background and marketing background, and she's using human design for business. So I'm learning a lot from her. I also use my own intuition in terms of a couple of theories for between human design and gene keys and health and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I like to do my own research. But yeah, for example, human design chart can show me, like, apart from obviously like each number means something else, and where it is positioned with which planet and so on, and whether it is on the left or right hand side of the chart itself, in which column. And there is information such as like who is your ideal client, what is your message, which is like, for example, conscious Mercury. In terms of the ideal client, it's with the notes, or
Hmm.
like obviously the core four, which is the conscious and unconscious sun and earth as well. That's the obviously like our purpose and what drives us, and each number means something. And so that helps me to get to know the person, because like the moment I always did diagnostics of the business before I started working with anyone, to establish where they currently are, whether they have consistent branding. So from the typical audit of the business
Hmm.
point of view, I was checking whether they have a website, whether they have the online media presence, maybe they only on just one channel. So that was just, I always did the diagnostic to get to know their business, but I didn't get to know them. And when I started doing human design, I started to learn what kind of person they are.
Hmm.
What kind of, are they actually doing the right business? Is that, what is their gift? What's their energy? So for example, prior human design, I have a client who was a hypnotherapist in Ireland, and I didn't know her human design profile, which is a projector. And I was always like, obviously, I never push anyone to do more work because everyone has their own rhythm, but I didn't understand why. And she was only able to work like 3-4 hours a day. She had like a one thing with her health that also didn't allow her to work as much as others. However, she was drained a lot. And when I actually started doing human design, and I always keep in touch with my clients, and I was like, "Hey, would you like to have a free human design reading? And let's see what comes up and so on." And when I realized, when I started to learn about her, that she's a projector, and she's here to guide others, which she does, and she has like over 10 years of experience, over 10,000 clients, like very successful. She learned from Paul McKenna, and it actually allowed me to understand, okay, so these are not the right marketing strategies for her, because like posting daily, that's not for her,
Hmm.
because she just doesn't have energy. So I knew automatically how to lead her in order to suit her energy, to like maybe certain things, like she actually supposed to work with generator like myself, because I have the energy. I just need to be aligned with the business that I'm working with. And when that happens, I really have a lot of energy to do all the tasks that they need. So that's what I was doing. She was outsourcing. So instead of me teaching her how to do it, she was actually outsourcing it to me. But at least I understood her. I knew what her business is. I understand how is she working with the clients and
Hmm.
what is she exactly needs. That helped me to also create her offer, create, like, I knew, I understood her ideal client. And usually that barely happens, that the marketing agency knows the client better than the client themselves.
Hmm.
So that is really, really helpful. And another thing is like, this is something that kind of working on currently in terms of the numbers, which is the gates or um, the gene keys, basically, which is the part of the human design which can be studied separately. I started to realize because like I always did like physics, and it never was a place for the team, like what we were discussing. Like there's always that dot that you don't remember, and it actually was needed at some point, right? When I was in primary and high school, I was really, really good with physics, and I didn't really have to study much. I just knew, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand why. Well, right now with the gene keys, and as we know, like when I started to study gene keys, there's three frequencies. So if you're in a low frequency, it can come up as either as an emotional or physical pain or trauma or some sort of symptom. So I'm starting to test my theory, like whether we can see how can we help to heal certain symptom, whether emotional or physical, by looking like which gene keys it led to, where which center is it linked to, and what exercises can be done or what should be released in order to heal that that trigger that physical or emotional pain. So that really helps me to understand the clients, and when I understand the client, obviously I can serve better because I don't force them to do certain things that they should not be doing, like because obviously there is a lot of cookie cutter approach, there is a lot of templates, which I'm completely against, because like every person is different, and that's what makes us unique. Not a unique selling point, but us and how we deliver the service. So that's how human design and Gene Key started to influence how I deliver marketing service.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with astrology, which I'm still studying, I'm nowhere near calling myself astrologer, but I do understand. I know how to check the planetary transits. I started to understand what each planet means. I don't understand fully all the connections yet and different conjunctions and so on and so forth. However, I started obviously with the GPT. It's a slightly easier, so I use it for timing. So like especially now when I was like, why am I feeling so drained and like and so on and so forth. So I'm checking my natal chart with the current planetary transit. So it allows me to understand myself, and it allows me to also understand either friends, family, my clients. Okay, this is not the best time for them because this is happening. So it may feel heavy or it may feel draining, so we need to wait maybe a week and it will be shift, and I can observe it by myself. So first I'm always checking it on myself, and then I'm basically sharing, and for now I'm sharing with friends, but everything is so accurate that even I'm absolutely shocked
Yeah.
because I'm really tuning into, and I think it's all comes to the awareness. So then to be present, because like then we observe the body, we when we connect it to ourselves, it's automatically making better decisions rather than what other people tell us to do.
Well, and it also, like you said with ChatGPT, um, you can go on all the different websites and get your chart, but in saying that, take your charts of the various astrology, human design, and um, gene keys, and ask who this is my structure of the business. Based on these charts, where is the business supposed to go? Right? So this is what I've done recently. Um, was I had a really quick, like 3 minute astrophotography reading. And I'm like, what the heck is this? But he was fascinating. So I'm like, okay. I took that reading from him based on my chart. What does this mean? So I'm here in Calgary, Alberta. This is my home, this is my center, this is my grounding, like everything, right? But my ruling planet of Jupiter hates it. And so I'm like, and I've always wondered how to keep Jupiter happy while I'm at home, right? And
Hmm.
I didn't say a word to him that, am I supposed to leave Calgary? And all of a sudden he's just like, oh no, you never leave Calgary. Calgary is your home. It is your spiritual guidance. It is, right? He goes, But that doesn't mean you can't go to Barcelona for 2 months and let your Jupiter just sing. And
Mm-hmm.
I went, oh, that's hilarious. But what was more interesting was the cities that he brought up were the first cities of time, like London, England, Barcelona, um, Sydney, Australia, Berlin. And I'm like, Berlin? Who wants to go there? Right? And then I'm talking to somebody, they're going, I've always wanted to go to Berlin. I said, well, if I go for 2 months, come on over. Okay. Right? Like, so it just gave me a whole different way of looking at travel,
Mm-hmm.
looking at expansion in my business and philanthropy. Because, yeah, I'll come over, we'll do some classes, we'll whatever, but I'm not moving anywhere. I'll come and taste the flavor of Barcelona, and I'll come home and get my grounding, get my spirituality, and right. And so that's what I love about all these things. It's like you're not saying it's the end all be all, but it's try it on. How does it fit? Do you like
Mm-hmm.
it? Do you not like it? It's like you don't go shopping and buy the first dress or the first suit. You try them on. How do they feel? Maybe, maybe not. Oh, if I alter this, no, I'd rather not alter. Like it's just giving you something to play with and to imagine. Well, what if?
Mm-hmm.
Right? This
Yeah.
this part of my life is ending because the Cryon return is saying it's ending, or your Saturn return is ending. But I know there's 5 doors opening up. Where the heck are we going to go? Let's peek in each of them before we decide. And that's the joy I get out of using the different tools. Is one, it's just another tool in the toolbox on the journey of connecting the dots, right? And
Yeah.
like you said, like whether it's MLM or just like straight up bad marketing company, it's just like not all things work for every single person, right? And it's just like if you're hiring, like if a company's hiring you, for instance, or hiring me, I'm not the fit for every company. But if I am your fit, watch the fireworks go because things
Yeah.
will shift, right? And I have told people that it's like, I'm ready to take your course. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, what do you mean, no? I said, you're not ready. But I want to pay you. And I'm like, that's nice. And I'm grateful. You're not ready. Because I've done that before. I've taken their money, shifted them, and then they go, well, my life fell apart. And I go, oh, you weren't ready. I won't do that anymore. When people
Mm.
are ready for that, like, oh my God, the double doors are open, I'm ready to fly through, they're going to fly through. And especially now that we're in the fire horse, if you go and you're not ready, you're going to burn everything down.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to confirm this, but I have heard out of the next 20 years, 18 are fire signs. So we have a lot of burning down to rebuild in the years to come. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure you're with me on this. It's like, what are we no longer requiring to keep in these bodies, to keep in our minds, to keep in the businesses as we move forward in the rebuilding of the unity consciousness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely last year has been a year of stripping a lot. I, for example, like I finished working with a client that I've been working with for 4 years, who also been my friend for 12 years, and absolutely everything fall apart. And after 4 years, she is actually an astrologer. She's a heart healing RTT therapist as well, and she told me a little bit about the cartography. So, like for me, it was actually Switzerland or Italy, which is interesting because I actually haven't been to in those two countries yet, being in Europe. But yeah, that has been huge for me because for the I did enjoy the work, especially at the beginning. I have learned a lot. We grew together, but I think it was the time to let go.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, I was holding on because it was a safe thing to do, and obviously, she grew massively. And but I think our values stopped being aligned, the way to live, or the way to even treat people in a way. And so for me, as hard as it was a good thing because like I had a lot of anxiety because when I worked, anytime I was doing anything for her, I started to have a lot of anxiety. I was like, I already knew that this has to end. I just didn't want to make the decision, and the decision was made for me. So I guess that was easier.
Well, but it's hard. But
Nevertheless,
it's hard when you've been using that income for 4 years, and then you're like, well, who's coming in to fill that spot,
especially from one month to another, exactly.
right? But the thing is that don't underestimate who she might send you.
That I doubt, but I think
No,
different things are coming.
just don't, like, it doesn't matter. Maybe she left so 10 others can try to get that spot,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no, the space is definitely
right?
made for something new.
And yeah.
Especially that, yeah. And it's funny because like I was talking to GPT yesterday in terms of like who I am, because I created a couple of custom GPTs for myself, being with combining all the knowledge together and making it very specific. Excuse me.
Well, and I also want
Sorry.
you to think
I'm
about,
sorry because I have a tiny cat who was starting to climb the curtain.
oh,
That's why.
but
Anyway,
I
so
also want you to um look at Chat GPT, or do, if you know it yourself,
yeah,
as the beginning of the conversation you're saying like, no, that's my online version name. What's my name? What's my name?
yeah.
See what numerology says.
I checked it already with numerology. I combined it all because
Yeah.
like I did have the numerology reading and it came up that my big time will be probably around 30, 32, 2030, 30, 32. So another 4, 6 years to go. So I will be nearly 50. But in terms of the name, I was drawn to kind of like a little bit cosmic, but I still wanted to be normal and I still wanted to be kind of like readable in 3 different languages. So it can be easily said because like sometimes when you said the name and my surname is particularly difficult to pronounce by Spanish or English.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, that's why I'm between two names. I think I'm leaning towards Amaya with the H at the end. But it was between Amaya and Alaya. So it was a little bit of Arya. So Arya the warrior is kind of like for me, it was like, oh, that's from Game of Thrones. So the fighter, the tomboy girl. And I was that. And I was that as a little, but I was like, no, that's too harsh. So I started to dig, and that's how it came up to this name. Although with numerology, I know there is a way of creating names, and the guy that did me the reading, he was actually creating names to add different vibrations from the numbers. So, like for example, that client of mine, she actually added different additional name to her whole name. Not that she's using this fully, even though she had like two names and the surname. She added an extra name just to have different letters, which was
Mm-hmm.
quite interesting, like in terms of vibration. So something to definitely look into. But
Well,
that's like integration part.
I know, but it was really interesting, because I was just this morning was talking to somebody, and she goes, "Oh, you use your middle name," and I said, "Yeah." Right? I said, "I don't know anyone that uses my first name," and she goes, "It has a weird vibration to it." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. That's how none of us use it." Right? Where and like, I felt my name was so unique until the singer came out. And I'm
So
like,
you
I'm
use it
way
before.
before her. Like, and they go, "Will you sing?" No. Like, anyways. And so, yeah, like, it's like, oh my gosh, guys, like, get better jokes. Um, but it's just really interesting how you talk about the vibration and same with the business name. Like when I was doing energy work for clearing houses and offices and stuff, right? I had a different name. And then I was like, I think this company's done. And it's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, where am I going to? And then all of a sudden, and it was funny because when I worked in corporate, it was called TransCanada, but we all called it TC. And I'm like, every day for 4.5 years walking into that building, right letters, wrong name. And then Transition Clarity got born. I'm like, got it. Right letters, wrong name. Right? But you
That's
gotta,
interesting.
yeah, you gotta be patient with how it's unfolding and how it's coming together. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, step by step, definitely. And I think it is today is the 8th, 9th, 10th. I think it's Sunday, the 11th. It's another crucial day. Is it the 11th or the 12th? That the three planets are actually in conjunction with Venus and Capricorn, I believe, and Mars as
Okay.
well is behind the Sun. So it's like they are kind of being burned, and like Venus is coming out of it, and then there is like the 11th of the one. So it's like instead of being 111, now it is 1111.
Hmm.
So that's another interesting date as well.
Well, and I always call those manifesting portals. Be very, very clear on what you're saying, thinking, feeling in those days
Hmm.
because it manifests. And then you go, I didn't manifest. Yeah, well, your thoughts, you didn't have to speak it, right? Your thoughts will bring it forward.
Mm.
So,
Something that I'm actually reading about. What's the name of the book? Pocket Full of Money, I believe, and it's talking about the manifestation. But I don't know what's your feeling about it. But a lot of spiritual guides or
mhm.
anyone who is talking about manifestation experts, let's say, uh, it brings up the subject of quantum physics. And I started like something's a little bit overused in it in a way because it's not as simple. And like thoughts bring more actions, right? It's the actions and the thoughts leads to the action and action leads to the result. It's not directly that you create, like it's not like a matrix that you see the dots and it's starting to shape the new reality you can manifest. I don't know, let's say a car or a house or something like that. It's more like the thoughts will need to lead you to the action. So because a lot of people think that only by thinking they can manifest. No, it has to be some action, right?
I know, but the thing is what um I read that book and the whether whatever book you read or whatever, it's everything is already granted to us. It is the tapes that we don't realize are playing that are stopping the manifestation from happening, right? So it's like, yes, it's all in the field. Everything like your new car, your new house, the new clients are already there. But your thoughts are saying, well, I don't deserve the new house. I don't want a new car. Like, oh yeah, whatever. No clients are coming. That's the tapes we gotta stop because it's like the client's there. You have to open the door, right? And that's where we
Yeah.
get tripped up. It's like, well, I don't see them, but vibrationally they're there,
Hmm.
right? And even with my own company, I was like trying, like working hard to get a cohort of men to come together before the holidays. And the more I tried to do it, the more exhausted I got. And I was like, let it go. And other work came in. And I was like, and I was going, thank you for not letting that cohort come together because I wouldn't have had the time or the space for it.
That's good.
Right? In hindsight, I understood it. Doing it, I was getting frustrated. You keep on saying they're here. Why won't they come? So my patience was being tested and I was failing miserably because I didn't have the space for it. I was running from here to there to everywhere, and I'm like, where would have I fit this cohort in? Would I have given my best to that cohort? Absolutely not.
Mm.
So I am beyond grateful that all my efforts didn't work because I was trying to make it work,
Yeah, I understand.
right?
Something that I think I'm being tested on the patience.
Oh, I my girlfriend gave me a patience angel 20 years ago, and I keep on looking at her going, "Really? More patience? I don't think so." But I have patience. So I do want to comment. What's your book?
Connecting the digital dots, which is basically a very practical guide about social media, like or how to generally marketing works. For like, I love marketing, but I hate those bibles that are outdated and it's just like so much on that is like unnecessary. But generally, it is 110 pages. They are very like, I'm a slow reader, so for me, it was very important. And I read a book about writing a book, and it was like spaced out. So it was like three, four sentences and a space, three like very short paragraphs. So that's how it's written. And it is practical steps on how to use Facebook and so on. There might be certain changes in terms of frequency, but the general knowledge, it was written. And I didn't use AI for a single thing. I wrote everything myself from my own knowledge. So it is how to what needs to be in place. And I use the analogy of a car and an engine. So the car is the business, and in order for the car to drive to be efficient, you need to have the engine needs to have all the gears. So the
Mm-hmm.
gears are the parts of the marketing and business. So like everything needs to be in place, because if you're missing one, obviously you can spin as many wheels as you want, but it's still not gonna work. So looking at the big gurus, like what they have in place, like everyone has the same pieces in their business as well, online business. I'm not saying the offline business, but they all need to be in place and how they need to work, and also how long things take. So like I know like people think like, oh, I have $100, $150, can you make my marketing? I say, well, what do you like? Said, so instead of telling like yes or no, I explain, listen, in order for your, if you have this in your business but you don't have this and this element, you
Mm-hmm.
need to basically, we need to spend that much time. I need to spend time on getting to know your business to do an audit. Then we need to build the other pieces in order for that part that you want to outsource to work.
Mm-hmm.
And even that work, let's say content creation, right? I
Mm-hmm.
say minimum number of posts is at least 3 times per week, minimum right now. If you post it once or twice, you're pretty much getting lost. So I said 3 times per week and minimum on 2 platforms. In order to create that many posts, it takes about that many time to research your business and to get fresh material. I never repeated a single post for my client.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like recycling what I did for the marketing agency. It's like, no, just repost from last month, just repost. It's the same thing. And obviously none of the algorithms like it. So that's what the book explains. It's like, this is the timing, this is how much things cost, this is why, this is what you need to know. If you don't have a budget of $500, $600, don't even bother do it yourself. Start yourself. And once you get things going and you have some cash, at least you know what to expect from the person that you outsource it to,
Mm-hmm.
because like there's nothing worse than outsource it and it's like, oh, they took my money but they didn't do anything. I was like, well, they either didn't explain it to you or you didn't. It's like, I think it was Robert Kiyosaki that was explaining, you don't need to be an expert in everything, but you need to understand how to run your business and who to outsource it. Because like once you know the processes in your business and you outsource each part of that process to different experts, at least you need to know what to expect from them, how they need to process that process basically. And that's what the book is basically explaining. So connecting the digital dots.
Very
And my
cool.
memoir is in the writing.
Well, and that's very powerful information because, um, especially as so many people are outsourcing to the Philippines and wherever they go. Nothing against any of those people or the people that are outsourcing, because some people have gotten amazing people. some have been ripped off. And I came to the conclusion when I'm ready for a VA or whoever, they'll find me, right? Just like the podcast. I keep on trying to shut it down and my inbox keeps getting full. Okay, I'm not shutting it down, right? Like like I stopped 2 years ago trying to find people for the podcast,
I see.
right? Because I said, okay, God, like am I supposed to be doing this? And then my inbox will get full. I'm like, okay, I'm keeping doing it, right?
That's good.
Because like I'm not the fastest at this stuff. Like, oh my gosh, how many posts do I have to do this week? Oh my god, like trying to get the like different content. And then it's like the typing of it all. Well, that disconnects my brain, right? I'm a talker. I could and then I'm like, whatever. Right? But now I know at least 3 a week and I'm like, have I been consistent? No. But I'll get there. I'll get there.
Well, human design can help in conjunction. Your human design report can help with together with the ChatGPT. It is very powerful. It is not like the typical like you are a social media expert and write me this kind of post like blah 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 and all this kind of one post with 15 different prompts in the comments. No, I tested it and it is not working. It is generic. It is for fake engagement generation, and usually those are there are still engagement posts, or people are seeing the program and they are required in order to be in the program. You actually need to comment and post 15 times. It was like I've been in it for like a week. 15 times a day they were posting, 15 times per day, and each had to like repost someone else's post, at least for 3 4 people on your profile, plus comment on those 15 different other of, like, I don't know, I think it was groups of 5 or 6, but if you need to comment on 15 of their posts, that's quite a lot. I was like, this is not sustainable. This is not a business. And
Well, and
obviously, the
it but
person on top,
it was trying to trick the algorithms, and I found it actually backfired the algorithms
yes.
because it was just like all of a sudden like LinkedIn's getting all these people posting on 50. It's like it shut it down. So, um, but as we wrap up, because we can talk, this has been fabulous. By the way, like I loved how we weaved all the marketing in with the the tools like human design and gene keys and whatever people want to use to move forward and or to hire you to do it for them. Um, what would you want the listeners to know as we wrap up this conversation?
I think just try it out, human design, and see where it takes you. Like, what can you find out? Because it is truly eye opening. It really changed my business. It changed even my life, I would say, like how I do things, how I make decisions. And there, I have two free reports on holisticbusinessalignment.com. You're more than welcome to try it yourself. Like, how am I doing? Like, I know you already know yours, but like, at least like how mine is done, because there is mini business report as well. So yeah, so I think human design and just getting to know self and connecting with self better.
Very cool. Well, that wraps up another podcast, Authentic Conversations. I'm your host, Adele Bernard. My guest was Maggie. I'm not going to try last name because I'm just not going to. And I'll have everything in the show notes. So get in touch with her if you thought this was interesting, want to learn more, take marketing to a whole new level using your charts of human design, astrology, whatever one she wants to throw in. So,
Thank you very much, Adele. It was a pleasure.
wow, we could have talked forever and ever. What an interesting concept of marketing through your human design. I've dabbled in it, but Maggie just takes it to a whole new level. And her offer will be in the show notes. Once again, if you want to work with me and discover your inner gifts that you're supposed to share in the world, I will be having classes starting later. Well, I don't know when this is ending or airing. So just keep on checking in with either LinkedIn or Facebook. I'll have it all in the events pages. And Transition clarity is all about working with the little boy or the little girl behind the adult to come and share your gifts with the world. The world is moving faster, it's getting busier, time is irrelevant. And if you want to start this next phase of life, 2026 and beyond, in a new way, give me a call. Set up an appointment, free to have a consultation, see if I am the one for you. And contact Maggie. Maybe she's the one that's going to take your next step to greatness. Who knows? Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, share. It helps the algorithms, it helps the show get seen and heard. And I thank you for listening. Until the next episode.